Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's career strategy session. Our focus today is going to be on tips for the lady who is working a 9 to 5 and also has a 5 to 9, which is considered a side hustle. A lot of my clients who are out there in the workforce, they want to learn more than negotiating salary tips. They want to negotiate for the best deals in their businesses as they're building something on the side in addition to their day. So this episode is dedicated to you all. My name is Jacqueline Twilley. I am a negotiations career coach. What that means is I work with millennial women to help them negotiate when they get job offers at review time, and to those ladies who have a side hustle and you're looking to build a business on the side. So what I would encourage you to do is head over to my website. There is a free PDF download. Under resources on the site, there's a negotiation checklist. I just want you to head over there, download that. It's absolutely free. You don't even have to leave your email address. But if you like the tips that you receive, please subscribe so that you can get more tips in your inbox. So again, that's jacquelinetwilley.com. Head over to the resources section and download your 3-part PDF checklist. I'm also really excited to share with you all that we will be shipping the negotiation toolkit in just a few weeks. So I've been working on this project for several months now. The negotiation toolkit is an action-packed workbook that gives you resources to use, sites to reference for figuring out what your market value is. I say this all the time. Know what you're worth and negotiate for that. So it's know your value, negotiate for what you're worth. So there's tools in this toolkit to help you figure out what your market rate is. And if you have a small business, there's some resources in there to help you figure out what you should be charging based on what the government pays people when they contract out. That's a good place to start. So that toolkit includes that. It's about 50 pages in the workbook. Again, action-packed. We have some scripts in there. We have a section in there for you to write your own script using some of the formats that I've created for you, so you can go in and use your own words, which is awesome because you want to use language that you're comfortable with. I'll also give you things that you can negotiate for in addition to salary, as well as some things to avoid during a negotiation. One of the things that you're going to hear me say today is you should listen more than you speak in a negotiation, because you really want to build a relationship with the other person. You want to understand what their point of view is and what they want to achieve so that you can make it a win-win for both parties. So when you walk away from that table, everybody feels like they won something and they'll want to do business with you again. All right, so let's hop into it. Today I'm going to give you an overview of what we're going to discuss. If you have any questions, hit me up on Twitter at JBTwilley, or you can pop an email in. Just go to my website and send an email from there. So the things we're going to cover today: how to prepare for contract negotiations. Now this is for small business deals, maybe $5,000, $10,000, all right? We're going to talk about at which point do you walk away from a business deal? How do you strategize if you're negotiating with a partner? And how do you add value, focusing on that value versus discounting your service or your product? And the last thing we're going to talk about is how do you start implementing this and practicing your negotiation skills? All right, let's hop into it. So the first thing is, how do you prepare for a contract negotiation? So keep in mind that before you get to the negotiation table, research has to start. So this is the first thing: research, research, research. I don't believe that you can be over-prepared for a negotiation. The better prepared you are, the more you're going to walk away getting what you want, okay? So just as you would go in for a job interview and you check out someone's website, in addition to looking at their website, you would also probably look at their competitors, look at the people that you might be interviewing with, looked at their LinkedIn profile. You're going to do the same thing for a business negotiation. So check out the company's website. You want to see what their ranking is on the Better Business Bureau, if it's on there, if it's an established company. See what their clients are saying about them. The people who are running that company, check out their LinkedIn profile. Just do like a quick Google search because you want to know who you're doing business with, all right? So go ahead and do all of that research. Check for press releases. If this is a lasting relationship that you're really thinking that you're going to do business for a long time, you want to spend a considerable amount of time just doing your background work, doing that prep work. And then also check out their industry, check out their competitors, any new products or services that they have rolling out. You also want to take a peek at that as well. So those are going to be very resourceful for you. The next thing that I want you to do is figure out how you can create a win-win. So I sent you earlier to my site to download this website. To download a checklist, a negotiation prep checklist. Part of that is going to say, what's your interest and what's their interest? You have to get really clear on what you want. And in addition to getting clear on what you want, I want you to put yourself in the other person's shoes. Why do they want to do business with you? What's in it for them? This is super important because a lot of times we do a lot of work and we know what we want and we're like, this is what I want and I'm going to have this and this is going to be great for this, this, and this reason. All fine and dandy. But if you want to strike a win-win deal where you're going to continue to do business over and over again, you also want to make sure that you understand their interests. So how do you figure out what their interests are? Sometimes you won't know in advance, but you will be better prepared and you can make a better guess at what their interests are depending on what things are going on in their company. So again, I'm going to go back to research. What products and services do they offer? Who are their competitors? What's growing in their industry? Take a peek at who's running the company, the leadership, who's on the teams, things like that. That will give you insight into the possibility of what's in it for them and what their interests are. And then take it a step further. Anticipate possible areas of conflict where you won't be on the same page. And then another step further, consider how can you bridge that gap with any conflicts that they may have. What's going to be creative? Think outside of the box. I know that's cliche, but I'm absolutely serious about this. Think of how can you make this a win-win for both parties, all right? So attitude is everything. Attitude matters. Go into it with a win-win, thinking, I'm going to make this the best deal for both parties involved. When you go into it with that attitude, that's going to help you psych yourself out and really think out of the box and be creative so that both parties involved will walk away thinking that they have a really good deal, which is what you want at the end of the day. So for people who you have a full-time job and then you have a side hustle, sometimes you get into the back of your head and you're like, oh, well, because I'm so small, maybe I should just give them everything they want. Because I'm just starting out, maybe I should do this. And you get into your head and you start doing all of these things. I want you to remember this. If you remember nothing else from today, which I want you to remember a lot, but remember, you are at the table because you have something of significant value to offer. So remind yourself of that you do have something significant to offer. Otherwise, you would not even be in a position to negotiate at all. So have that positive attitude. Don't let self-doubt creep in because self-doubt can help change the attitude. And if you are not confident as you walk into a negotiation, one of the things that's going to happen is you're going to walk away from that negotiation and the other person is going to say, oh, I thought they could do it, but maybe not. They didn't seem too sure of themselves. She didn't seem as confident as I would have liked her to be. So if you go in with a positive attitude and you do your research and you're well prepared, your confidence level is going to go up. And that's going to help you really engage in a conversation and present yourself in a very confident manner. The other person will take you seriously as well. So think about past experiences that you've had negotiating. You've negotiated before, believe me, whether you've realized it or not. We negotiate everything. Well, not everything, but we negotiate all the time. We probably don't realize we're negotiating. So when you're discussing with a friend what movie to watch, if you're going to a movie theater, you're probably deciding on a couple of movies. You're negotiating during that conversation. If you've ever went to dinner with a friend and said, oh, I'll pick up the tab on this one, you get next time, that is a negotiation. If you've ever called your insurance company, car insurance, renter's insurance, and said, hey, am I getting the best possible rate? That again is a negotiation. So think about those small things where you've negotiated before and think of the outcomes. Sometimes when we reflect on those small conversations, those little things, it'll give us insight into how we should prepare for a business negotiation. So again, you have negotiated before. I think for me, I was a really strong negotiator as a kid. I have a soon to be 9-year-old nephew. He's a great negotiator. Coming up to his birthday, he wants this and he wants that, and he's giving you the reasons for it, and he is so confident and persistent. So think about the kids in your life and how they ask for things so confidently and sure of themselves. You want to have that same level of confidence, but you want to back it up with data and research, which is why you want to do your prep work in the beginning. Now, as you enter into a business negotiation, whether it's a small deal or a big deal, before you engage in the negotiation and start getting down to the nitty-gritty and the details, agree on a process. How are you going to conduct this? Is this going to be over the phone? Is it going to be over a video conference? Are you going to be in person? Is it going to happen through email? You want to make sure that you're clear and you set that expectation of how you're going to communicate and what that process is, as well as who is involved in that process. That's super important. You want to make sure that you're negotiating with the people who can make the final decision. So I'll tell you a quick story. So a few months ago, I engaged in a negotiation, and we got down to the final details. As we get down to the final details, the person that I had been building a relationship with and talking with for probably a couple of months at this point says, you know what, I have to run this up to my supervisor to get the final approval. And I could have just sank at that moment. It was such a big moment where I'm like, you know what, you know better. Guess what I made a mistake of? I did not confirm that the person I was negotiating with had the authority to sign the deal. So learn from my mistake, friends, and make sure before you engage in the nitty-gritty of the conversation of the negotiation that you are negotiating with the people or the person who has the authority to sign the deal at the end of the day. So when do you walk away? This is our second big point of this discussion. What is the walk away point? Well, your walk away point is going to be that point where it's no longer a good deal. So you're probably saying, well, Jacqueline, how do I know if I'm getting a good deal or a bad deal? You'll know if you're getting a good deal or a bad deal if you've done proper research. So in addition to going to websites, checking out different data, going to LinkedIn, checking out Twitter, finding out what's going on in the company, talk to folks that you know in the industry. There's a good chance that you probably know somebody who knows everybody. Talk to that person and say, hey, do you know anyone who specializes in this industry or in this area that I can bounce some ideas off of? If you talk to someone who is really knowledgeable about the area, you can say things to them like, hey, I'm about to engage in this business deal. I'm just wondering, what's standard in this type of deal? What's the average rate for this? What type of discounts are typically offered? And what's something I should be asking for that I may not know, being a new person into this industry? If you talk to an industry expert, someone that you trust and respect, you can talk to friends of friends, alumni, people who you were in an organization with or are in an organization with, even friends of your parents. to find out what types of deals are standard and what comes along with those deals. That's going to be really helpful. As I was preparing to write my book, Navigating the Career Jungle, one of the things that I learned was that with the book deal, I should have expected a case of books to come along with that for the type of company that I was using to assist me in self-publishing. Now, the first company that I talked to, they said, absolutely not. We will not give you anything. We won't give you a bookmark. We won't give you a business card, not even a postcard, and definitely not books. The company that I ended up doing business with, they gave me as a part of my deal, I got a case of books. I got bookmarks, business cards, postcards, promo posters, the whole shebang. So I would not have known that had I not talked to someone who was familiar with the industry. So you definitely want to talk to somebody in the industry, because that information that you gain is going to help you decide what your alternatives are to the deal that you're negotiating. Now, in negotiation speak, like the technical term for that is called a BATNA, B-A-T-N-A. That's the best alternative to a negotiated agreement. All you need to remember is you need to have alternatives, okay? So make sure that you know what your alternative is to whatever you're negotiating. That's gonna help you decide if you should walk away or not, because you're gonna know if it's a good deal or bad deal based on the research and based on what your alternative offer is. All right, so please keep that in mind. It's super important. Now, strategize. If you're negotiating and you have a business partner or someone who's going to be negotiating with you as a team, you want to strategize. The biggest mistake that I see people make is that they will not strategize with their partner until they're in the car on the way to a meeting. So they think that during this 20 or 30-minute ride, they're just going to talk it all out. That's not enough time. And you need to be in an area where you're not being distracted. So this doesn't mean in a room, in a car driving to a meeting. This means sitting down for a minimum of 1 hour and talking through everything. Now, I talked a little bit earlier about interest. What are your interests? What's important to you? What do you want to get out of this deal? And put yourself in the other person's shoes and say, what do they want to get out of this deal? If you're going in with a partner, you need to understand what your interests are. Your partner needs to understand what your interests are. You need to understand what their interests are. And you got to get on the same page. Because when you go into a meeting with someone else, you have to be unified. You have to know your interests as a team, not as an individual. That isn't the place to say, well, I want this and my partner wants this and you want that. It's going to get really messy and complicated. So you have that discussion with the person that you're negotiating with up front. And then kind of map out how you want the conversation to go. When I say map it out, just draw an outline. I want to talk about these things. These things are important to me. If they say this, I'm going to say that. And anticipate going back maybe 2 or 3 rounds. With that, after you've mapped it out, go a step further with your partner. Say, this is the area that I'm going to talk about. This is the area that you're going to talk about. Make sure that you are well versed in everything. I don't want you to split it up like a college team project and say, you do this introduction section and I'm going to do this section over here and I'll kind of skim over your report. Everybody needs to be fully invested in this, doing the same amount of research. This is money, y'all. So don't take this lightly and don't skip any steps. Don't think, oh, I'll try that later or this doesn't apply to me. Because I guarantee you, the people who miss these steps, especially teams negotiating and saying, but we know each other. We've been knowing each other a long time. We don't need to sit down face to face. We can handle this in the car. We can do this over the phone. Don't. I'll tell you why. This thing is a distractor if you're doing it over the phone with your partner strategizing. You really need to be face to face because somebody's going to try to multitask. And they're going to want to check an email here, check a text here, get on Snapchat for a second, and you need to be fully engaged and fully invested. So if you're going to do this good cop, bad cop thing, again, you want to make sure that I'm teaching you to come out with a win-win from all parties involved. So you want to make sure that you're going to talk through all of the strategy, the language that you want to use, and your overall objective, so that you can go in as a unified front and get more of what you want as a team, okay? So when you're doing it as a team, your individual interests, yes, they do play a part, but you have to fully discuss that with your partner so that you both can be on the same unified page as you go in to negotiate a business deal. The last thing that we're going to cover today is, how do you talk about the value without offering a super discount? So I've said this a couple of times before, research. You want to know what you offer that is better than your competitors. Or if you have no competitors, you need to know that. You need to know your industry inside and out, and you have to know how it's going to benefit the other person. There's a TEDx talk that I watch often. I've watched it multiple times. It's by Simon Sinek, and it's to start with why TEDx talk. He says in that video, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Think about that. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And they also want to know, how is this going to benefit me? A lot of times we come up with these products and services and we think they're grand and they're great, and from our perspective, they're wonderful. But if we don't put ourselves in the other person's shoes, we don't know the full benefit to them. Test your idea out. Do some market research to find out, what is it that your target audience or your potential business partner, how will they benefit from this? And once you understand how they'll benefit from it, you can move that discussion from talking about a price to talking about the value that you're going to add. And then once you have established that you're adding value, you tell them your price, and you don't have to discount it 50, 60, 75% off. Why? You won't have to do those types of discounts because they understand that they're getting significant value. The only way that you can articulate what that significant value is if you fully understand the benefit to them, what's in it for them, and understand how you stack up against other people in the industry. So let's do a quick recap here. Again, I want you to head over to JacquelineSwilly.com, download the free PDF checklist that's going to help you prepare for your negotiation as well as evaluate yourself afterwards. So you want to prepare in advance for your contract negotiations, similar to how you would prepare for a job interview. You want to know what your walk-away point is by understanding your alternatives, and you must have an alternative. Strategize with your partner. Spend a lot of time on this. My rule of thumb is I work with people who negotiate really small business deals. So up to like $5,000, $10,000 deals, those are considered small in the grand scheme of business. So if you're doing anything around that, you want to spend at least 1 hour per $1,000 preparing. So if it's a $2,000 deal, spend at least 2 hours. If it's a $5,000 deal, spend at least 5 hours. If it's you and a business partner, then you want to spend 5 hours each, and then another hour, hour and a half, 2 hours talking together, talking through everything to make sure that you're on the same page. And add value. You know, find creative ways to add value. Know your industry like the back of your hand. You got to know your stuff, okay? Know how it's going to help this other person and what benefit it's going to give to them. And when you know that, you're going to be in a better position to say, this is what I'm offering you, and you're going to be able to stay firm on your price. Now, of course, you want to have some wiggle room. If they're buying something in bulk, you want to offer a discount. That's standard. But again, you want to know what the industry standard discounts are, so that you're not shooting yourself in the foot and like making no money off of the deal, okay? So if you have any questions, feel free to email me. My email address is on the site, Jacqueline Swilly. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel because every Wednesday at noon, we're right here and I'm giving you 30 minutes of tips to help you negotiate. Please remember this, you have to know your value in order to negotiate your worth. Part of that is starting with the research and understanding the dynamics of the relationship that you're going to have. Have an awesome day, and I'll talk to you next time.